What do the dodo, giant ground sloths, and aurochs have in common? They're all considered extinct. But while some vanished creatures are as irretrievably gone as my dignity, others are more like Andy Kaufman, rumored to still be lurking out there somewhere. These are the so-called extinct animals that some believe might actually still be alive. Number 15. The Tasmanian Tiger. The thylacine, or Tasmanian tiger, is believed to have become extinct in 1936. However, mysterious sightings may suggest it is still roaming the earth. According to documents released by the Tasmanian government, there have been 8 sightings of the tiger in the last few years, with the most recent in July of 2019. A man found what appeared to be a Tasmanian tiger footprint in Hobart, Tasmania. The carnivorous marsupial is believed to have eaten kangaroos, wombats, and sheep. However, it was hunted to extinction in the 19th century by British settlers in Tasmania. The last Tasmanian tiger died in captivity in Hobart's Beaumaris Zoo on September 7, 1936. Or so we thought. A document released by Tasmania's Department of Primary Industries, Parks, Water, and Environment last year calls into question their extinction, with several experts and hunters thinking the species may still be alive. As well as the footprint discovery in Hobart in 2019, a couple saw an animal they were 100% certain was a Tasmanian tiger near Carina in 2017. Another sighting in February 2018 in western Tasmania described a large, cat-like creature with black stripe markings on the back of its body. Since the tiger's supposed extinction, there have been more than 400 reported sightings, with the Tasmania Parks and Wildlife Service investigating all of them. None have yielded any definitive proof, but surely it's only a matter of time, don't you think? Number 14. Woolly mammoth. The Ice Age had many memorable creatures, but the one who leads the pack is the woolly mammoth. The legendary mammal was reported extinct around 2000 BC. Standing at an imposing 11 feet tall, weighing up to 6.5 tons, and with imposing tusks, this creature would be pretty noticeable. So why has this timeline been called into question? A sighting by a Frenchman in the 1920s of a huge elephant-like creature, plus an intriguing find in 1948 and other sightings since then, may well be legitimate. In 1948, a frozen mammoth was discovered in Siberia, completely intact. After close examination, its meat was found to still be fresh, a fact that adds further speculation to the rumors that these giant mammoths may still be living amongst us. There are many cold regions on the planet that are not populated by man and considered too dangerous to explore. Do you think it's possible that mammoths could be living in these isolated parts of the globe? Number 13. Platypus fish. The platypus was first encountered by Europeans in 1798 and was described as an amphibious animal of the mole species. Today, the semi-aquatic egg-laying mammal is the sole living representative of its family. One of those members was the platypus fish, a prehistoric fish that had some similarities to its duck-billed, beaver-tailed ancestor. The ancient fish, native to Australia, has been reconstructed by paleontologists. Using fossils that date back millions of years, a picture has now been painted of the strange-looking fish that once swam on the sea floor like a stingray and had the long bill of a platypus. It might not be a living example, but it's certainly lifelike. Scientists examining the fossils found in limestone around the Lake Burnjuk Dam at the head of the Murrumbidgee River say that they could date back to the early Devonian period, more than 175 million years before the first dinosaurs. The fossils were discovered in 1969 and were considered the strangest species of fish found in the ancient ecosystem. Number 12. Meghetereum. This giant ground sloth roamed South America for some 5.3 million years before falling victim to mass extinction. However, some rainforest natives believe it may still be alive. The Meghetereum, or at least something very similar, has apparently been seen roving through the forest trees. The elephant-sized sloth was believed extinct. However, in 1788, an interesting find raised questions about that theory. Archaeologist Manuel Torres discovered a rare fossil specimen on the banks of the Luján River in eastern Argentina. Although he didn't recognize it, he believed it was worth investigating further. Torres sent it to the Spanish National Museum of Natural History in Madrid, Spain. It was assembled and mounted for display, and it was here that it caught the eye of French paleontologist Georges Cuvier, who decided to explore its anatomy and taxonomy further. He managed to create a more complete picture of the Meghetereum's history, publishing a paper on it in 1796. In the paper, he theorized that the giant sloth may have been an early ancestor of the modern equivalent. Further study confirmed its habitat, diet, and reproductive cycle. The Meghetereum lived in large groups, had very few predators, and a tolerance for most food types. It was able to migrate and thrive all over the continent for millions of years. So how did such a resilient mammal die out? Or did it? Number 11. Megalania. Is this giant goanna that inhabited southern Australia really extinct? Named Megalania or ancient great roamer by paleontologist Sir Richard Owen in 1859, the massive reptile is believed to have died out around 50,000 years ago. But is it feasible that the subtropical rainforests of Australia could still be home to the gigantic marauding lizards? If these Jurassic Park-like beasts are still alive, what has stopped them from unleashing hell on visitors to the rainforest? With a reputation for being vicious, the Megalania is believed to have roamed the wilds of Australia for many years, with Richard Owen describing the beast as a terrible reptile and an ancient giant butcher. It certainly seems absurd that these monster lizards could exist in stealth and not be found, captured, or killed. But scientists believe it is possible. There have also been sightings both in the latter part of the 19th century and the early decades of the 20th century, each sounding very much like surviving examples of the Megalania. These sightings aren't confined to Australia either, as some have reported seeing a large lizard in New Guinea. So if you're ever taking a trek through the subtropical terrain of Australia or parts of New Guinea, it might pay to be vigilant and keep an eye out. Now it's time for today's topic. A group of hunters in the remote swamps of Louisiana has sparked global intrigue after claiming to have discovered and hunted a creature that experts believe could be a prehistoric survivor. The hunters, who were tracking wild hogs, stumbled upon the creature deep in the marshlands. Described as massive, with thick, scaly skin and features resembling a mix of reptile and mammal, the creature was unlike anything they had ever seen. Fearing for their safety, the hunters fired at the creature, eventually bringing it down. Photos of the carcass quickly went viral, showing a beast that defies modern classification. Experts who examined the images are baffled. Some suggest it could be a surviving member of a prehistoric species, possibly a relative of ancient reptiles or amphibians that once roamed the Earth millions of years ago. Skeptics argue it could be a mutated alligator or a misidentified known species, but the hunters insist it was something far more terrifying. "We've hunted these swamps our whole lives, and we've never seen anything like this," one of them said. The carcass has been sent for further analysis, but the discovery has reignited debates about the possibility of prehistoric creatures still lurking in the unexplored corners of the world. Number 10. The Sabertooth Tiger. One of the most prehistoric mammals, the saber-toothed tiger was not related to either tigers or other modern cats. This might come as a bit of a surprise considering their obvious likeness, but they were more robustly built. The saber-toothed had particularly well-developed forelimbs and exceptionally long upper canine teeth. These teeth were adapted for precision killing and required a jaw with a bigger gape than those of modern cats. The last of the great cats are believed to have died out with the close of the Ice Age. However, there is some evidence that calls that theory into question. In 2002, a surprisingly young fossil jaw with links to the big cat was found in Europe at the bottom of the North Sea. This find has scientists searching for answers and delving into the saber-toothed tiger's intricate family tree. Painstaking genetic analysis of the jawbone has now confirmed the theory that the big cat lived in Europe much longer than previously believed. Paleontologists thought it had died out 300,000 years ago, but radiocarbon dating of the North Sea jawbone suggests that the species was still prowling around Europe as early as 28,000 years ago. DNA evidence backs up the estimates. Today, all may not be lost for the saber-toothed name. A new and improved big cat could have filled the niche of its extinct predecessor. In fact, experts say there are at least 4 different families of animals developing the saber-like canines as a hunting adaptation. Number 9. Siberian Unicorns. If you ever thought that unicorns were simply the stuff of fairy tales, this little tale might have you reconsidering. The Megalania is a large rhinoceros that is now extinct. It is believed to have died out as late as 39,000 years ago. Known as the Siberian Unicorn, it was the size of a mammoth and is thought to have had a large, thick horn on its forehead, quite unlike the rhino we see today. Some ancient cave paintings and folklore from Eurasia even seem to reference a giant, one-horned beast roaming the steppes, which may have been inspired by sightings of a Megalania. Its horn, possibly up to 2 meters long, would have made it an impressive and formidable presence on the Ice Age plains. The animal's thick fur and robust build helped it survive the harsh, frigid climate of prehistoric Siberia. Scientists believe that changes in climate and vegetation, along with human hunting, likely contributed to its eventual extinction. Recent studies of fossilized bones and DNA testing have confirmed that these 4-ton animals could have met our ancestors. Thanks to leaps forward in technology, a complete skull at the Natural History Museum was dated and found to be less than 40,000 years old. Previous estimates dated the rhino's extinction at around 200,000 years ago. This information is regarded as pivotal in natural history and confirms the species survived until at least 39,000 years ago. When they were alive, the Siberian unicorn would have been one of 250 species of rhino. Today, there are just 5. So, although the rhino may now be extinct, its ancestors are not, adding further fuel to the belief that unicorns are real and still roam the earth today. Number 8. Mochmbi. According to legends, the Mochmbi is an amphibious, dinosaur-like creature that lives in caves, digs in riverbanks, and feeds on elephants, hippos, and crocodiles. Now, it's common knowledge that dinosaurs died out long ago, even before man roamed the earth. Why they died out has often been called into question with all manner of theories surrounding the sudden extinction of the giant creatures. Over the years, numerous expeditions have ventured into the Congo Basin in search of the elusive beast, often returning with little more than local stories and ambiguous footprints. Some explorers have claimed to hear strange roars echoing through the swamps, while others have reported seeing massive shapes moving beneath the water's surface. Cryptozoologists have pored over blurry photographs and shaky video footage, hoping to find evidence that would finally prove the creature's existence. Despite the lack of concrete proof, the legend of Mochmbi continues to attract adventurers, scientists, and thrill-seekers from around the world. The creature has even become a symbol of the mysteries that still lurk in the world's most remote places, fueling debates about what might still be undiscovered. Local folklore often describes the Mochmbi as both a protector and a threat, depending on the storyteller. Some believe it has supernatural powers, while others insist it is simply a rare animal yet to be classified by science. The fascination with this cryptid has inspired documentaries, books, and even video games, keeping the legend alive for new generations. Rumors of their continued existence continue to circle the globe. They have captured the public's imagination for well over a century, with Sir Arthur Conan Doyle publishing a book about the suggestion. The Lost World follows the survival of dinosaurs in modern times. The book is set in the remote Venezuelan jungle and inspired the Jurassic Park movie series. These may all have been based on fiction, but some people believe there's some truth to the rumor that dinosaurs still linger, hiding in the remote jungles of Central Africa. But although the suggestion is certainly intriguing, it seems almost impossible that a reptile the size of a T-Rex, for example, could be hiding in plain sight somewhere in the world. Therefore, with no scientific proof of an African dinosaur-like animal, the Mochmbi is now considered merely a 20th century creation likened to a modern-day Loch Ness monster. Number 7. The Megalodon. It would be difficult to think of anything more terrifying than coming face to face with an enormous shark in the deep, dark depths of the ocean. Imagine, if you will, meeting up with one of the biggest sharks to ever grace the planet. The Megalodon is believed to have lived over 2 million years ago. Its behavior and physical attributes are similar to that of the great white shark, but its size is significantly larger. A typical great white would measure no longer than about 16 feet long, whereas the Megalodon could have measured as much as 70 feet. Some fossilized Megalodon teeth have been found on every continent except Antarctica, a testament to the shark's once global range. The bite force of a Megalodon is estimated to have been the strongest of any known animal, capable of crushing the bones of large whales with ease. Scientists have even used computer models to reconstruct how the Megalodon hunted, revealing a predator that relied on speed and surprise to ambush its prey. The mystery of its extinction continues to puzzle paleontologists, with some suggesting that changes in ocean currents and the decline of prey species played a major role. The Megalodon's massive size meant it needed enormous amounts of food, making it vulnerable to shifts in the marine ecosystem. Its legend has inspired countless movies, documentaries, and even conspiracy theories about its possible survival. The idea of a living Megalodon lurking in the unexplored depths of the ocean continues to capture the imagination of adventurers and scientists alike. That's one massive shark. In their day, the Meg would have mainly dined on whales and would easily have been the king of predators in the ocean. Changing global climate conditions and increased competition for a dwindling food supply are believed to have caused the Megalodon to die out and eventually become extinct. But there have been reports that the monster still lurks below the ocean's surface. What was believed to be a Megalodon tooth was dredged up in 1875, and Discovery Channel have featured several episodes about the prehistoric species, documenting scientific research that it may not have been extinct for as long as first thought, if at all. There's even footage of encounters with a large shark, including one that is believed responsible for capsizing a South African charter vessel. This information may not be conclusive, but these sharks did exist, and it's not impossible that an undocumented species of the Megalodon does still live in the ocean. Now that's scary. Number 6. Cave bear. About 25,000 years ago, during the peak of the last glacial period, the population of prehistoric cave bears dwindled to a trickle. Not long after, there were none. Once a flourishing species commonly found roaming the high alpines of Europe and Asia, the cave bear stood close to 3.5 meters tall when rearing up and had a very similar skeleton to the brown bear. Cave bear remains have been discovered in caves across the continent, often alongside ancient human artifacts, suggesting that early humans and cave bears sometimes shared the same shelters. Some cave paintings even depict these massive bears, hinting at the awe and fear they inspired in our ancestors. The diet of the cave bear was largely herbivorous, though evidence suggests they may have occasionally scavenged meat. Their massive size and thick fur made them well adapted to the harsh Ice Age climate, but changing environments and human encroachment likely contributed to their decline. Recent advances in paleogenetics have allowed scientists to reconstruct much of the cave bear's genome, providing new insights into their evolutionary history. The discovery of cave bear DNA in modern brown bears suggests that interbreeding occurred before the cave bear's extinction. Today, a new study has found their DNA continues to live on, with findings revealing between 0.9 and 2.4% of modern brown bear DNA comes from the ancient cave bear. This information may well rewrite the world's understanding of extinction and whether it should be considered absolute. The word extinct may now be thought of as old-fashioned, as scientists say the fragments of an animal's gene pool can survive for tens of thousands of years after its disappearance. This genetic material can continue to live on in modern-day animals, effectively blurring the lines between the extinct and the living. Research has shown that Neanderthal DNA is present in modern-day humans. This fact alone creates more questions than answers, wouldn't you say? Number 5. Celacanth. When it comes to extinction, barely any species is exempt. There are even several fish on the list, including the primitive-looking coelacanth that is believed to have exited the Earth at the same time as the dinosaurs. Essentially, this means that the fish hasn't been seen for 65 million years. But this may not be the case. In 1938, a South African museum curator discovered what appeared to be the bizarre lobe-finned fish while on a local fishing trawler. The discovery shocked the scientific community, as it was thought impossible for such an ancient lineage to have survived unnoticed. The coelacanth's unique limb-like fins and ancient body structure have made it a subject of fascination for evolutionary biologists. Its genome has provided valuable insights into the transition of life from water to land, bridging a crucial gap in our understanding of vertebrate evolution. Divers and researchers have since managed to film and study live coelacanth in their natural habitat, revealing their slow, graceful movements and mysterious nocturnal behavior. The fish's ability to survive in deep, dark waters may have helped it avoid detection for so long. Some local fishermen in the Comoros Islands even had stories of catching strange, blue fish long before scientists officially recognized the species. The elusive deep-sea creatures were believed to live at depths of up to 2,300 feet below the ocean's surface near the Comoros Islands off the east coast of Africa and in the waters off Sulawesi, Indonesia. These living fossils can also be huge, reaching 6.5 feet or more and weighing almost 200 pounds. Scientists estimate that they can live up to 60 years or more, hiding in underwater caves by day and venturing out to feed at night. Number 4. Dodo. Another extinct flightless bird but with very few similarities to our friend, the moa, the dodo was about 1 meter tall and may have weighed up to 17.5 kilograms. Unlike the moa, the dodo was born with wings but may have neglected to use them for flight due to the availability of abundant food sources at ground level. Predators were also relatively absent on their native island of Mauritius, east of Madagascar in the Indian Ocean. The first ever recorded mention of the bird was in 1598, and the last in 1662. Early explorers described the dodo as clumsy and unafraid of humans, which made it especially vulnerable to hunting. Paintings and sketches from the 17th century provide some of the only visual records of what the dodo may have looked like, though many of these images are thought to be exaggerated or inaccurate. The dodo's extinction became a symbol of the impact humans can have on isolated ecosystems, and its story is often used in conservation education today. Some museums around the world display reconstructed dodo skeletons, pieced together from the subfossil remains found on Mauritius. The bird's unique appearance and mysterious disappearance have inspired countless books, films, and even references in popular culture, such as Lewis Carroll's Alice's Adventures in Wonderland. Recent advances in genetic research have led to discussions about the possibility of reviving the dodo through de-extinction techniques. Scientists are currently analyzing preserved dodo DNA to see if it might one day be possible to bring the species back. Hunted by sailors and invasive species, and with its habitat destroyed, the dodo had no chance. Their extinction wasn't immediately recorded, however, as many believed they were simply a mythical creature. 19th century research of the remains of 4 specimens put paid to that theory, and since then, a large amount of subfossil material has been collected on Mauritius. There's also some evidence that the bird may still be alive, with night vision video uploaded to the internet showing what appears to be a live dodo walking past an iguana in Costa Rica. Whether the video is authentic remains to be seen, but it certainly got scientists scrambling to secure DNA evidence and subsequent confirmation of the find. Could dodos have lived that long in Costa Rica without being discovered? Only time will tell, I guess. Number 3. Orox. An ancestor of the domestic cattle we see today might just make a comeback. The auroch lived throughout Europe, Asia, and North Africa until 1627, when the large and wild species became extinct. Scientists now believe they may be able to bring it back through selective breeding of cattle that carry a portion of Orox DNA. This would make for an interesting crossbreed, given the bovine measured up to 7 feet tall. European science teams have been selectively breeding cattle since 2009. The Orox was known for its impressive horns, which could reach up to 3 feet in length and were used for defense and dominance displays. Some conservationists hope that reintroducing Orox-like cattle could help restore ancient grazing patterns and improve biodiversity in European landscapes. There are even projects underway to release these cattle into rewilded areas, where they could play a role in maintaining open meadows and controlling shrub growth. The striking appearance of the Orox, with its dark coat and muscular build, has also inspired artists and historians for generations. Geneticists are using advanced DNA analysis to identify the most Orox-like traits in modern cattle breeds, making the process more precise than ever before. The idea of seeing herds of these majestic animals roaming free again has captured the imagination of people across the continent. Some researchers are also studying ancient cave paintings and historical records to better understand the behavior and ecology of the original Orox. They hope that by breeding and selecting offspring that show more Orox-like traits, they will eventually recreate something very similar to the lost animal. The process is known as backbreeding and was first attempted in the 1930s by German zoo directors Lutz and Heinz Heck. Their creation was a mix of domestic cattle and fighting bulls from Spain. Now known as the Heck cattle, it took only 12 years to achieve. The brothers focused more on size and aggression than on being faithful to the structural description of the Orox, hence why Heck cattle aren't considered actual recreations of the extinct species. Some argue that bringing extinct species back is unethical. Others believe it is their duty to do so. Whatever your opinion, there is one benefit to competing backbreeders. In their drive to bring one species back, several others are almost certain to be created in the process. It's a win-win, really. Number 2. The moa. There were once 9 species of this now extinct flightless bird. The moa was native to New Zealand and could reach about 12 feet in height with its neck outstretched. When Polynesians settled in New Zealand around 1280, bird numbers were estimated at just below 60,000. It was initially only hunted by Haast's eagle, but between 1320 and 1350, the Maori arrived in New Zealand in several waves, and it's believed that the moa became extinct around 200 years later. This was mainly due to overhunting. The disappearance of the moa had a dramatic impact on the ecosystem, leading to the extinction of Haast's eagle, which relied on the moa as its primary food source. Some legends and oral histories from Maori culture still speak of the moa, keeping its memory alive in New Zealand folklore. The idea of bringing the moa back has sparked the imagination of conservationists and the public alike, with some envisioning vast reserves where these giant birds could roam once again. Advances in ancient DNA extraction have made it possible to recover genetic material even from bones that are hundreds of years old. There are ongoing debates about whether New Zealand's current environment could support a reintroduced moa population, given the changes in vegetation and the presence of new predators. Some scientists are also exploring the possibility of using closely related bird species as surrogate parents for moa eggs. The project has inspired similar efforts around the world to revive other extinct birds. Scientists at Harvard University have assembled the first nearly complete genetic material of the little bush moa. This achievement moves the field of extinct organisms closer to the goal of de-extinction, effectively bringing vanished species back to life by slipping the genetic material into the egg of a living species. Stuart Brand, co-founder of the nonprofit conservation group Revive and Restore, believes de-extinction probability increases with every improvement in ancient DNA analysis. The aim of the research is to resurrect vanished species, including the passenger pigeon and the woolly mammoth. It's all very exciting. For the moa, whose DNA was reconstructed from the toe bone of a museum specimen, there may need to be a little more genetic tinkering and a lot of egg, but scientists are confident it can be done. Number 1. Irish elk. A giant deer that once inhabited parts of Europe and Asia may soon walk the earth again thanks to advances in cloning. Skeletal remains of the Irish elk have been found in bogs in Ireland, with most carbon dated to around 7,700 years ago. Although sharing the elk name with the living species we see today, the Irish elk is not believed to be closely related at all. According to Mother Nature Network, there have been many well-preserved fossils of this majestic 7-foot-tall creature found, which make it an obvious candidate for experimental cloning. The sheer size of the Irish elk's antlers, which could span up to 12 feet across, has fascinated scientists and artists alike for centuries. Some researchers believe that, if brought back, the Irish elk could help restore lost ecosystems by filling the ecological role of a large herbivore. There are even discussions about how reintroducing such a species might affect modern landscapes and plant life. Advances in genetic technology have made it possible to extract viable DNA from ancient bones, opening up new possibilities for de-extinction. However, ethical debates continue about whether humans should intervene in nature to this extent. The idea of seeing a living Irish elk roaming the wild again has captured the imagination of people around the world. Documentaries and books have already begun to speculate on what a rewilded Europe might look like with these giants back in the mix. If the cloning is successful, the Irish elk will essentially be resurrected, and many scientists believe this could become a viable option in the future. But some extinct species will make better candidates than others, with ancient animals preserved in permafrost during the last ice age topping that list. It certainly could be an experiment worth keeping an eye on, that's for sure. Countless animals from the past never made it to our era, and it's not just the famous prehistoric creatures like dinosaurs. Imagine being able to travel back in time and witness some of these extinct animals in their natural environments. How incredible would that be? If you had the chance, which extinct animal would you want to see first? And don't forget to explore more of our fascinating content appearing on your screen right now. Thanks for watching, and see you next time.